You ready? Are you ready?
Is it that time? No, you've got about 2 minutes.
Go remind everyone.
And then turn.
Yeah.
Push down, push
And I'm
off.
gonna ask. It's glowing. Oh. Oh. Okay. And then.
Okay.
This meeting will come to order. Will board members rise and say the pledge to the flag? Board member Smako, will you lead us in the pledge?
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the staff call roll?
Mikey Friedman. David Nash.
Here.
Danny Hang.
Here.
Louise Smith.
Here.
Joy Freiberg.
Here.
Annie Simonko. Here. Yola Duray. Here. Rick Watts.
Here.
Roderick Renfrew.
Here.
Thank you.
The next item is the approval of the agenda. I call for a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Is there a
Seconded.
second? Any objections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. The agenda is approved. We're going to move on to public comment. The Disability Advisory Board values your comments. However, pursuant to the Brown Act, the Advisory Board cannot take actions on items not listed on the posted agenda. Due to the full agenda, public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Up first, we have Esther Baum.
I just want to say that I think the dial-a-ride service is fantastic. I retired last year, and I'm 92, and I don't know what I would do without them. They're always so considerate and just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Up next is Stephanie Harker.
Good evening, Stephanie Harker, City of West Hollywood. I just wanted to congratulate all the recipients of the, your microphone is very low tonight because I'm loud. I wanted to congratulate all the recipients this evening, and I wanted to thank especially all of the fine board members of this particular body. You're all an inspiration to me, and I see people who need help around the city, and those people inspire me as well. Many of us are aging in place, or as a friend says, raging in place. We are starting to begin to understand some of the things that some disabled citizens have dealt with all their lives. And I think it's about time that all of the community get on the stick here. And hopefully next time around, someone will give Annie Simonko a higher seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Up next is Genevieve Morel.
Thank you. Good evening. Genevieve Morrill, President and CEO of the West Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank you as the Disabilities Advisory Board for all the work you do in service to the community. And I want to offer up continually, I've only spoken a couple times at your board meetings, that we welcome promoting how businesses can work with those people challenged, and how we can help to find different ways that businesses need to adjust if they do, and some that don't, will help applaud them as well. And we work with a couple of different of the boards with the city on different special discounts that the businesses can provide, et cetera. And we work with social services and Corey and some of the others to provide that. I also want to thank the staff, the city staff. They really love what they they do, and it shows. And so thanks Social Services for all of their work as well. And finally, congratulations to the recipients of these awards. Congratulations to everyone. Thank you.
The next item is the consent calendar. I ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar. And the minutes, I'm sorry.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any abstentions? Objections? All in favor, say aye.
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 Moving on to new business. On behalf of the Disability Advisory Board, we welcome you to the 19th Annual Disability Service Awards and televised meeting. We are very pleased tonight to be joined by Mayor Pro Tem John Duran, Council members John D'Amica and Lauren Meister. On behalf of the board, I would like to adjourn tonight's meeting with a special recognition of Elizabeth Savage, and Director of Human Services and Rent Stabilization. Ms. Savage has had a remarkable career with the City of West Hollywood, and tonight, in commemoration of Disabilities Awareness Month, we want to recognize Ms. Savage's pioneering efforts to advance the city's Aging in Place initiative. We are so grateful for her contributions to seniors and all people living with disabilities. Thank you, Director Savage. Can we give her a round of applause?
Absolutely.
This past year has been very active and productive year for the Disability Advisory Board. I want to thank each board member for their important contributions and City Council for its ongoing support of our endeavors. Over the course of the year, we hosted our 3rd annual Health and Wellness event and actively contributed to the city's Aging in Place initiative. Over 300 people attended the Health and Wellness event last Tuesday, and we were able to provide screenings for podiatry, glaucoma, blood pressure, diabetes, HIV, STD testing, and flu shots were also provided free of charge. We would like to thank our partners, Cedars-Sinai Medical Center and AIDS Healthcare Foundation, for such a fantastic event. And at this time, I would like to welcome Mayor Pro Tem Duran. He has to leave a little bit early if he would like to address the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening to everybody. On behalf of our mayor, John Heilman, who's not present tonight, and my colleague, Lindsay Horvath, who are both traveling, I wanted to send their regards as well. I'm a little underdressed. I have a few stops tonight, and one's Halloween something. It's that time of year. It's gay, holy day of obligation coming up with Halloween around the corner. But I wanted to take a moment just to stop by and, of course, to thank you all for your service and to congratulate the recipients who are here. And also to pay additional homage to Elizabeth Savage. She doesn't like to have attention shined on her. I know this, so I'll make this uncomfortable for just a few seconds. Thank you for all your service, Elizabeth, to our city and to our community for these past 2 decades. When the city of West Hollywood was formed, some of you may or may not know, the critics all said it would never survive, that the city had no economic base, that it wasn't going to be able to pull itself together, that the county would have to take it back over, that it did not have the ability to provide basic social services to its residents. And the city was formed in '84, and of course you all know what happened within a year of that. The AIDS epidemic hit West Hollywood in a very severe manner, in a way that we lost 10,000 residents over a period of 15 years. It's unbelievable what this community was confronted with. And there was a very smart woman named Jody Cole, who I think was probably the predecessor to Elizabeth and a few others before that, who came up with the idea of working with nonprofit organizations and contracting with them in order to provide human services. And I see the Los Angeles LGBT Center is here tonight, one of the organizations that we've worked with since the beginning of the city. National Council of Jewish Women is here tonight, another organization we've worked with since the beginning of the city. And that's what it has been about for us, is we had to learn how to be innovative, how to deal with the fact that we had an epidemic, we had to provide services, we had no money, we didn't have a renovated Sunset Strip, we didn't have a thriving Santa Monica Boulevard, we didn't have the design district along Melrose. We had to be creative. And of course, flash forward 30-some years to where we are today, and we know that because of the foresight of council members prior to me and those that serve with me today, and all the community members who participated, not only on this board, but all the various commissions, we have come up with solutions on how to make sure that our residents are very well taken care of. If you're not sure about that, go talk to people who live on Alfred and Orlando and the 3rd Street over there in the Trigger, where they're just like begging, please take us into West Hollywood. We'd love to be in West Hollywood. So from the city that was predicted it would never survive to the city that we are today, with the resources to make sure that those in our community that are most vulnerable, whether it's seniors or the very young, or people with disabilities, or people living with HIV, or our new, transgender community, which is at 1% of the population, that's higher than anywhere in America. They got a whole percent on the tally board. We know that those that are most vulnerable in our community will always be taken care of. So thank you for your service to our community all year round. It's because of each of your individual voices that we make sure that those voices are heard and that we adopt policies and procedures around the community to make sure that no one falls through the cracks. Thank you for your service and congratulations to the honorees.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Duran. I'd like to go back to public comment, as I apologize, I missed a few. So Marina Berkman, if you could come up to the podium. Followed by Michael Origio and Michael Wokalevich.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Marina Berkman. I'm the director of West Hollywood Comprehensive Service Center, Program of Jewish Family Service. I wanted to congratulate all of you, the board members, with the very successful Disability Awareness Month, and to thank you for all the effort that you made to make it a real success. And all our congratulations to the awardees tonight. Just wanted to remind you about the services available for people who live in the city of West Hollywood with disabilities of any kind. We're there to help, and I can see a few new faces on the board. And I want to invite those of you who are not familiar with our services to call, and we will arrange a tour of our facility. We will tell you in details what we can provide for the community. Welcome to become members of the board, and thank you for those who are familiar with us. Congratulations again. Thank you.
Michael Arrigo.
Good evening, Disability Advisory Board members. Michael Arrigo, former board member. I'd like to, first of all, congratulate all of the awardees tonight, from Gold Pictures to Maria Shriver with her involvement in the Special Olympics, to Braille Institute, which is passionate to my heart. I've utilized their services for years, from putting books on audio disc for me. I was going to say audio tape, but that's a thing of the past. And they have great educational programs and a wide variety of services and functions for the blind, partially blind, and deaf and blind. And to MV Transit, one of Access Services regional transportation providers. They really travel alongside Access Services' mission statement, which is to provide safe, quality, dependable paratransit service for those who need it. And October being Disabilities Awareness Month, let us not forget the other 11 months out of the year for those who are disabled. For those who are particularly partially disabled or don't have a blatant, not so in-your-face obvious disability. For those who are mentally challenged through mental health issues, or people who are partially sighted or slightly deaf. Let us not forget these individuals and not jump to a negative conclusion if they don't see you waving to them from across the street or yelling hello to them. That doesn't mean that they're arrogant or whatever negative conclusion one can come to, because people who are ignorant
Thank you,
to a
Michael. I'm sorry, your time is
disability-
up.
Thank you. And go up and talk to that individual. They'll have a better understanding of what a disability is. Thank you, and
Thank
have a
you.
good meeting.
Board members, honored guests, members of the public, I'm Michael Wojtkiewicz from the City of Accessibility Noncompliance. So here we are gathered in a $66 million County of LA library facility that after opening in 2011 is still afflicted with audio and visual problems that are affront to the compliance with the 1990 Americans with Disabilities Act. Outside this very chamber starts another $100 million plus construction endeavor where one of the most celebrated design features will be a grand stair. A grand stair, not a grand rampway, but a stair costing $1 million in its own right, which will ultimately be even a grander barrier to those living with disabilities, but also the higher percentage population of seniors who are framed as having sensitivity shown to them by the city as they endure the struggles of aging in place. Down the road from here, in the central part of town, a $50+ million automated garage directly adjacent to City Hall, which rejects vehicles of disabled individuals, one of which belongs to a very member of this advisory board who has been forced to walk from another remote and older facility 1 block away. Just up the hill from there, still the only existent dog park in the city, which remains to this day accessibility non-compliant, even though its introduction came a decade after the 1990 ADA. And then, of course, a little further to the east, coming online 2 decades after the implementation of the 1990 ADA, we have the $22 million Sierra Bonita Apartments, the only building in the city that was to serve a multiplicity of disabilities but has instead misused, misappropriated public monies in defiance of public trust. Thus, I end with 2 questions. Where exactly is the awareness in this supposed Disability Awareness Month of October? And then secondly, has this city and its Disability Advisory Board no decency to speak up and demand immediate correction and to demand respect for all who are living with disabilities? Or are you to remain as you are right now
Thank you,
in
Michael. Your time is
silence,
up.
in a city which 30 years ago once proclaimed in its infancy,
Thank you, Michael. Your
silence
time is up. I'm
equals
sorry.
death. Thank you, Chair.
Moving on to new business, item 3A. Please welcome Hillary Selvin, Executive Director of the National Council of Jewish Women, for opening remarks.
Good evening, everyone. So, important things first. Top of the 4th, Astros 1, Dodgers nothing. Just want to make sure I got that out for everybody, for those of you who are here, so because you can't attend the meetings. I mean, the Dodger game. I know in LA that's a very important piece right now. So I want to first congratulate the awardees for all the work that you do and being recognized for the work you do for the disabled community. I also want to thank Elizabeth, who I've known for many years, for the work she's done at the city. I've known her, we started when I was at the chamber, and she was doing the audits for the grants. She's come a long way in all the work that she does, and she does amazing work, and I know that her heart and soul is in human services, and I think she will be a tremendous loss to the city. And so congratulations on your upcoming retirement. She's going to be a month before me. So also thank you to the City of West Hollywood, Mayor Heilman, City Council staff, members of the Disability Advisory Board, and all of you tonight for having me and supporting all of us who need and work for good health care programs for everyone. You know, honoring people is really important, and honoring the work they do for this community is important in the way that we look at everybody. You know, NCJW, our work is we advocate and provide services for women, children, and families, but it spans a spectrum. And one of the areas of social justice that we continually advocate for is good, comprehensive health care for everyone. You might think, social justice, what does that have to do with health care? Well, health care is a social justice issue. It is an issue that affects and impacts each and every one of us and affects our quality of life. It is about making sure that no matter where you live, who you are, or whether you have a job or not, you have health care. Today, the fears of what health care is going to look like in the next few months, years, and beyond is very unsettling for all of us. Whether you have a disability, pre-existing condition, illness, or not, the challenges we each face to make sure we have proper health care creates tremendous anxiety. Our prescription for moving forward is about the advocacy work we do to ensure proper health care for all, our ability to access resources and support programs, and the work the cities like West Hollywood does to make sure their communities are being taken care of. We must continue to fight for our health care rights, especially pre-existing conditions and affordable health care. The prescription for moving forward is also about our own health and physical challenges and how we face them. I think many of you know, some of you don't, I'm a 3-time cancer survivor with lots of other issues along the way. And I know that for me, healthcare, disability challenges can be daunting at times. And that having a tremendous support staff, not support staff, but support of family, friends, community, healthcare is so important and so vital for each of us. I know that I am very fearful for those that do not have that support system. You know, we're lucky that West Hollywood does provide a support system and can help many people. But a lot of people don't have that. And in today's world, it looks like they're trying to take whatever we do have away from us. I know that for me, being able to access health care has been extremely important. But I can also tell you that the challenges of disability, of illness, and chronic conditions is a challenge that we all face. So I was very lucky in having the support system, but we need to continue to fight for those that don't have those support systems. I also had a choice when I got cancer the second and third time, is I could let my cancer define me, or I could define who I was and not use my illness, my cancer, as who I was. I knew that cancer was something that I was going to have to deal with, that will always be a fear, especially since it came back, will always be a fear of mine, but I had to learn how not to live in that fear, how not to take each day and worry about who I was and just dwell on what was happening to me. And I challenge all of you, because I know it is hard, to face each day and know that we have our challenges, but not to let it define you. You define who you are. We must all believe that we can move forward and work to make a difference in our life and the lives of others. I know all of you sitting up here on the disability advisory boards have all made a choice to help others by your work on the disability advisory board and all the work that you do with all the people that you interact with. And that makes a statement. And I think that you all are a role model for those that are struggling, where they can see that who they are, what happens to them, whatever their challenges are, does not define them. I think it makes each of us stronger, because I think it reflects on who we can be. Stephen Hawking said, "My advice to other disabled people would be, concentrate on things your disability doesn't prevent you doing well, and don't regret the things it interferes with. Don't be disabled in spirit as well as physically." And that spirit's very important. But I would expand this and say to everyone here, concentrate on the things you are able to do well, and don't regret the things you are unable to do. And do not let your spirit be disabled by things you cannot control. You can find your road through it, but it will be different from everybody else's road. We can only be who we are, and we are the best of who we are. Oscar Wilde also stated, "Be yourself, everyone else is taken." Be yourself, everyone else is taken. And I think that each of us is a very important person. And being ourselves and working the way all of you do, and many of the people sitting here behind me, spend our time working to help our communities. That is our prescription for power. It is our prescription for life. And we will continue to fight for the rights of all of us to make sure we are being provided by our communities the help that we need, the health care we need, and know that we are not defined by our challenges. We are defined by the work we do and what we do each and every day. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for sharing your story. Do any of the board members have any questions for Hillary? No? This is receive and file. Do you have any questions for Hillary? No? Okay. So we're going to move on to new business, moving on to item B, the service awards. Please welcome Council Member D'Amico and Board Member Louise Smith, who will be presenting the nonprofit award to the Braille Institute.
Good evening. I'm so happy to be here. I particularly enjoy this evening because my first interaction with West Hollywood was as a Disability Advisory Board member back, I think, in 1998 and 97, when I was 8 and 9 years old. I joined the board, and it really helped me to understand how committed our city at the time and since then and still is to continually checking and rechecking ourselves with respect to disabilities, disabled people, people generally in our community. We have done plenty, and there's plenty to do. This is one of those boards that understands that and looks to make it right. So I thank you for having this award ceremony and including me. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to present this nonprofit award to the Braille Institute. Did you want to begin, or shall I?
You can start.
All right. As you mentioned, I'm Councilmember D'Amico. The City of West Hollywood and its Disability Advisory Board are pleased to present the 2017 Disability Service Award for Nonprofit Organizations to the Braille Institute. Let's have a round of applause. I'm going to read a little more. The Braille Institute is a nonprofit organization, and its mission is to eliminate barriers to fulfilling a life caused by blindness and severe sight loss. The organization delivers a broad range of free programs, classes, services, including assistive technology, support, and special mobile applications, as well as a library. The Braille Institute Library offers a variety of reading materials in accessible formats to tens of thousands of people annually. In 2009, the Braille Institute's library received the National Medal for Museum and Library Service, which recognizes institutions for outstanding contributions to their communities.
And the Braille Institute cultivates an environment of hope and encouragement through integrated educational, social, and recreational programs. We admire the Braille Institute's commitment to achieving and elevating student general well-being, empowering people with vision loss, and to lead full, balanced lives. I must say, we've been privileged to have the Braille Institute's Children's Choir, the John E. Merson, the last 2 meetings here. They have been fantastic, and these children put their heart and soul into their music. It's a very admirable organization. And I must say, our board is in awe of your work, and many of our board members have taken advantage of your work.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say tonight we have with us Reed Strage, the Director of Library Services, and Ben Pomeroy, the Director of Digital Programs. So, gentlemen, welcome, and we're here to accept your award.
We have more.
And here is a certificate from, that's from Adam Schiff from the House of Representatives, and this is from the Assembly member, Richard Bloom from the 50th District, who represents the West Hollywood area out to the beach. And this is from our County Supervisor, Sheila Kuehl, who also sends her well wishes. She is our supervisor for this supervisorial district number 3.
Beautiful.
Do you want to come around here and we'll take a photo together if you will indulge us? Thank you.
Just don't want to run over toes.
You're fine.
Well, thank you very much and good evening. My name is Reed Strage. I'm the Director of Library Services for Braille Institute. And on behalf of my colleague Ben Pomeroy, who's the Director of Digital Programs for Braille Institute, and everyone at our organization, we'd like to thank you for this generous award. And I'd like to congratulate the City of West Hollywood for your continued commitment to issues of access to information and accessibility. Ben and I have been here a few times to the library, of course. I'd like to thank the partners from the County of Los Angeles as well. And when we come out here, we just really enjoy meeting with all folks from your community. Braille Institute will be turning 100 years old in 2019. And we are going to, thank you. We're going to be doing a centennial push, so you'll be getting a lot of information about that. We would love to come back at some time to have you celebrate our centennial with us as one of the largest public service organizations for the blind and visually impaired in America. And again, thank you so much for this generous award, and I look forward to continuing our successful partnership with the City of West Hollywood. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Braille Institute, Reed and Ben. Up next, we have the Media Award. Please welcome Councilmember Meister and Board Member Rick Watts, who will be presenting the Media Award to Gold Pictures.
I wonder if we can do this. Hi, I'm Lauren Meister. Here comes Rick. So I'm really pleased to be here. I want to congratulate all the recipients, and I want to thank staff, and I want to thank the board for putting this together. And I want to thank Elizabeth Savage for her years of service, and I'm very, very envious that you get to retire. And we wish you all the best. I also just want to say, when we have public comments, sometimes, they're positive, and sometimes they can be uncomfortable, but that's okay. Because that's why we're here, and that's why the board is here. It's so that we can make this city the best city it can be. So I think we should be accepting of all comments and be glad that we're all here to do something about it. So tonight, I'm here to present the Media Award to Gold Pictures. The City of West Hollywood and its Disabilities Advisory Board is pleased to honor Gold Pictures with the 2017 Disability Service Awards for Media. Gold Pictures' mission is to engage in responsible filmmaking and to create quality entertainment that has a positive impact on humanity. The documentary film Cinemability was directed by Jenny Gold and captured the evolution of the ways disabilities have been portrayed in the entertainment industry. The film emphasized the importance of inclusion. Jenny Gold's accomplishments have been featured in publications nationwide, including the LA Times, Variety, and DGA Magazine. As an advocate for people with disabilities, Ms. Gold used her filmmaking skills and the power of the media to educate the public. She recently authored the Gold Test as a standard for Hollywood content creators. The Gold Test asks whether a work of fiction prominently features a disabled character whose story and person is not solely defined by their disability. And now, Board Member Rick Watts.
Thank you, Councilwoman Meister. Gold Pictures is committed to creating content that is both entertaining and worthy of social commentary. Cinemability is a captivating film that demonstrates how an enlightened understanding of disability can have a positive impact on the world. The West Hollywood Disabilities Advisory Board is pleased to honor Gold Pictures with our Media Award. Jenny Gold is here to accept the award. Thank you, Jenny.
Certificate from Assemblymember Richard Bloom, and we have a certificate and commendation from our County Supervisor, Hazel Kuhn. Congratulations again.
West Hollywood is a beautiful city, full of caring people like the people in this room tonight, the board members. Thank you very much for this honor, who understand true diversity of all types and who embrace inclusion. By your honoring Gold Pictures and our film Cinemability tonight, you are joining our campaign for inclusion, which is what we call it, because we're a small film with a powerful message that needs everyone's help. We need people that can help build our grassroots as we bring it to the public in 2018. So your timing couldn't be better, and I thank you for this wonderful honor. Thank you.
Congratulations, Gold Pictures, and Jenny Gold. Up next, we have the Business Award. I'd like to welcome Director Elizabeth Savage, who will be presenting with me the Business Award to MV Transportation. And I see you guys out there, the whole gang.
And it will be presented also by our chair, Joy Freiberg. So my name is Elizabeth Savage. I'm the Director of Human Services and Rent Stabilization. Thank you for your warm acknowledgments. The warmest should go to our awardees, of course, and I'm privileged to be here tonight to help with that. So the City of West Hollywood and our Disability Advisory Board are pleased to present MV Transportation with the Business Award. MV Transportation began 40 years ago with Faison and Alex Lotus and their determination to help their community's most vulnerable citizens. While the organization has significantly expanded since its inception, the leader's vision and commitment to providing a comfortable transportation experience for people living with disabilities remains paramount. MV Transportation is an asset to the City of West Hollywood's community and it successfully operates the Dial-A-Ride and TLC services. The staff provides caring, personalized service and prioritizes the rider's safety and needs. The staff are like our family and are very much important to the city's accomplishments of providing good care. MV Transportation is the epitome of a true community partner. They are committed to advancing our community members' needs, and they show true care and respect for their passengers, going many extra miles in every sense of the word.
MV staff members go above and beyond expectations to create a memorable experience for riders. On behalf of the Disability Advisory Board, we are pleased to honor MV Transportation for its service to our community. David Ross is an 11-year veteran driver with MV and will be accepting the award. West Hollywood community members describe David as their favorite driver, and MV receives many compliments on his excellent work. On holidays such as Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and birthdays, Mr. Ross buys the passengers roses and balloons to make them feel special. He knows that some of the passengers live alone, and he wants them to know that someone cares and appreciates them. Everyone, let's give David a round of applause. He will be joined by Jan Almquist, Jonetta Walker.
He will be joined by Jan Almquist, Jonetta Walker, Judy Smith, and Liz Blanco for a picture.
Stagger yourselves. I can't. Okay. Guys, come on. I can't see her. Move a little bit this way. Okay. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. Good. One more. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Good, thanks.
David, come on.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Judy Smith. I'm the Area Vice President for MV Transportation, and we are very, very honored to be here today. I'm so proud of our team, and I want to just start with introducing a few folks that are here and just briefly tell you how long they've been on the program. We have Jen Almquist, who's our General Manager. She's been with the program for 10 years. We have Jonetta Walker, who's our Operations Manager and Safety Director, been on the program for 13 years. Liz Blanco has been on the program for 7 years. Mario Ruiz for 10 years. Vicki Harris, she's probably our newest person for 2 years. I've been on the program for over 14 years. And I'll go ahead and at this point introduce to you our stellar performer here who was called out specifically tonight, David Ross, who has been with the program for 11 years. So if you want to say a couple words, David, you're okay? But he's really shy.
Come on, David.
So,
say something.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate everything, and it was hard work, but I did it. You know, when I first started, I had to get them together. I said, wait a minute, what's going on here? But I had to put a lot of love in it, and when they needed love, and I put a lot of love in it, and hug. I made everybody hug everybody on the bus, and people were together. And they didn't know their neighbors, They stayed next door to each other for 40 years. The other one stayed next door 30 years. They didn't know each other. So I told them, we got to get this together. We got to do something. We're going to have to strive. So I get like 35 people or elder people. I take them to Ralph, Trader Joe's, and put bid. And you know, the manager came out, took pictures of all of us. Told us your bus is the party bus. You know, because he said, you got everybody loving one another. You got everybody happy. You got everybody smiling. How you do this? I said, it's all about love. And I make sure when we all get together, one lady, when my Mother's Day, when I bought, she said, I ain't got no baby. I said, yes, you do. I'm your kid. You got a baby. So, you know, we all like a big family, and I'm going to keep it together, and we all going to grow together. And everybody I see, we always happy. They wave, and we love one another like all this. One man with the other, another. They love each other. They the best friend now. So we gonna keep it rolling. We're gonna keep it going, and we're gonna keep making it a bigger and bigger family. And we're gonna make us all hug together and be together, and we're gonna walk together and be happy and share love. You know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David Ross.
And lastly, though, I would be remiss without thanking the staff of West Hollywood. Our clients are great. Perry's here tonight, and we work also with David Jenny in the social services department, and we work hand in hand, and I really appreciate the support they give us to go out and do our jobs every day, so thank you.
Congratulations.
That's good. Good evening, everyone. Before we go on to our final award recipient, we did have one final public speaker. Sheila Simmons, if you're still here, you can come up to the podium. Thank you.
Good evening, thank you. I've actually spoken with Rick Watts about this issue, but I'm here. I am asking for the board's support. I wrote a bill proposal and submitted to Assemblymember Bloom and Senator Ben Allen to ban service dog fraud. What happens is we have individuals who masquerade their pets in food facilities, and they exploit the disabled, make it difficult for the disabled to maneuver through food establishments and restaurants with their legitimate service animal pets. I don't know if you all have noticed, but this issue has really gotten out of hand. And what happens is the law states that animals are not allowed in food facilities. However, the American with Disabilities Act has one provision that allows service animals access to these food facilities. The provision is really vague, and what happens is it's a loophole, and people know it's a loophole. Entities can only ask 2 questions. Is your dog a service animal, and what task has it been trained to do? People know this, and they lie, and they say, yes, it's a service animal. Therefore, they're permitted in these establishments. So as it stands, it's a misdemeanor in California to have these dogs in food establishments. What my bill addresses is to establish a certification program and implement a process that does not stymie the enforcement of the provision. There was an article in the Daily Beast regarding a guy who brought in his pet, and it attacked a service animal. It was a lady in a wheelchair who had this service animal. Well, the pet owner blamed the disabled woman and said that the wheelchair frightened his dog. You know, this should not be allowed. I mean, we're above this. We've just gotten to the point where there's so many unscrupulous individuals who feel that they're above the law, and they put their needs above the disabled and exploit the disabled. So what I'm calling on you all to get your support and to write Assemblymember Bloom and Senator Ben Allen stipulating the ban on service dog fraud. So do you all have any questions or?
Ms. Simmons, unfortunately, this item isn't agendized, so the board is unable to respond to you at this time, but we appreciate your public comment.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the individual award. Our last award, board member Yola DeRay will be presenting the Levity Bryden Differently Abled Individual Award to Maria Shriver.
Thank you very much, Chair. So now, Maria Shriver was unable to be here personally this evening, but you will be hearing from her, and she has accepted. I want to tell you a little bit about Maria. Maria is an incomparable, lifelong advocate for persons with disabilities. She is a gifted journalist, author, and well-known person insofar as Special Olympics and advocating for persons with intellectual challenges. When Maria was First Lady in California, she started a program called We Include to help persons with disabilities get jobs and to also make it known that people with disabilities were not necessarily disabled, but in fact they had many abilities that could be garnered and placed in the workplace. She did a tremendous service when she did this. Today you see her more often advocating for Alzheimer's, especially for women with Alzheimer's, because it is a huge problem today in our society. She's also involved in Architects for Change. And if I may add a little special footnote there, our awardees tonight, our honorees, are Maria's Architects of Change. Each and every one of the individuals we honored tonight in their own way has made a difference such in our society that they are Maria's Architects of Change. I'd like to present you with our exemplary honoree, Maria Shriver. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maria Shriver, and I'm so excited and honored and humbled to be receiving this award. I want to thank Yola Doré, who nominated me for this award. I don't know you, but I'm really grateful to you for signaling me out and giving me an attagirl for my work and the work of my family in this space. I wanted to look up this award, and I wanted to find out who Love Dee was, since this is an award named after a woman. I looked her up, and I was like blown away by this woman, a tireless advocate for affordable housing, equality, and issues involving disabled persons. She called it differently abled. My mom used to always call people with intellectual disabilities her special friends. The Special Olympics, the movement she started in our backyard, was for her special friends and their parents so they could be treated with dignity and equality and have a place to show the rest of the world what they could do. And she would have loved Love Dee. This Love Dee was her kind of a woman, and I have to say, she seems like my kind of woman too. It said she overcame prejudice all her life, first as a child growing up in rural Pennsylvania where schoolmates actually stoned her because her parents belonged to the Communist Party, and later coming out as a lesbian with an African-American partner. Physical ailments, including a broken back, never slowed her down, and it just goes on to talk about what a force of nature she was and what change she brought about. So I'm really honored to get an award named after a woman like that. I spend a lot of my time trying to champion women like that and men who are what I call architects of change, who are doing God's work, the Lord's work, moving humanity forward on the front lines every single day. And certainly Love Dee was that kind of a woman. And to have an award named after somebody like that inspires me to do even more, inspires me to be even stronger, inspires me to use my voice even better than I've been using it. So I want to thank you for this kick in the pants. I don't get that many kicks in the pants now that my mother's no longer here, but I'm getting one from reading about her and seeing what she did and how her legacy lives on. As I always say to my kids, your legacy lives on long after you, if you do kind of work like she did. And so I want to really thank the City of West Hollywood, the Disabilities Advisory Board, for this award for the work that you are doing. I think recognizing people who are working on behalf of those with special needs is a big step in trying to bring this discussion out into the mainstream. And so my son just moved to West Hollywood, so I'm going to be spending a lot of time in West Hollywood because I think they're really great restaurants, really great people. I hope to meet another Love D on the streets there and to hear more about the incredible work that you're doing. So thank you for honoring me with this award. Thank you for nominating me. Thank you for being, I hope, inspired by my work. And I feel like I'm on notice from Love D. I got to get going. Thanks.
Maria Shriver, and congratulations. And congratulations to everyone who won an award this evening. If we could just give them another round of applause. Moving on to new business item 3C. Please welcome Elin Schultz, the Senior Health Deputy from the Office of Supervisor Sheila Kuehl, who will give us a presentation on their efforts to improve healthcare access.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. And thank you to the entire Disability Advisory Board. And congratulations to your Service Award winners. It's an esteemed group, and I'm glad that I was able to join you tonight to see the awards and meet some of the recipients. I have been asked to speak tonight to explain a bit about what the county and our Board of Supervisors has been doing to ensure that we take advantage of the Affordable Care Act and the generous opportunities that it's afforded our county, and also to ensure that we are maintaining the gains that we achieved under the ACA over the past several years, even as the ACA is threatened by various legislation and discussions in Washington, D.C. So let me first give you a picture of what the county looked like prior to the ACA. Our county has 10 million people. They rely in large part upon a mixed system of private hospitals, nonprofit hospitals, community clinics, federally qualified healthcare centers, and our own county's Department of Health Services and our facilities. Out of that 10 million, 2 million residents were uninsured prior to the ACA. 1 out of every 5 people living in the county. And many of them struggled to find regular sources of care for health. They ended up in our ERs, crowding our ERs, and when they showed up, they often showed up very sick because they never got the regular care and health care that they needed that allowed people to both catch problems early and then maintain their health. So when the ACA was announced, our county jumped in with both feet. One of the things, we did a couple things. One of the things that we did for our residents was we ensured that we took full advantage of the ACA even before it was officially implemented. That meant that we created a program that was enrolling people who we knew would be eligible for Medicaid once the ACA was actually implemented, but we started enrolling them before the official start date. So in 2012, 2013, we enrolled 300,000 people. And they woke up on January 1st, 2014. They went to bed December. They were uninsured. They woke up, they were on Medi-Cal. And we did that all behind the scenes to make it easy for them. Once the ACA was officially implemented, we worked our tails off to ensure that we got everybody enrolled who was eligible. In just a couple of years, we enrolled 1.2 million people in Medi-Cal. That was over 10% of the total nationwide who were gained coverage under the Medicaid expansion. Between 2010 and 2015, so the official announcement of the ACA, the passage of the ACA, and 1 year after the ACA was implemented, we dropped our rate of uninsurance in the county in half, from 21% to around 11%. That was, like I said, we went from 2 million. We're down now to, estimates vary, but about 1 million, maybe slightly under 1 million that are residually uninsured. And what we also did at the county is we changed our programs to make sure that we were still providing excellent care and access to the residually uninsured. So we had a program for years. We've changed the names a couple times. Now we call it My Health LA. It has enrolled people who are not eligible for Medi-Cal. They're not eligible to receive subsidies under Cover California. These are people who are often don't have documentation and therefore don't qualify for those other programs. We have over 140,000 of them enrolled in our own county-funded program. And we basically make sure that they have access to care in our DHS facilities, our county facilities, and we also pay our partners, our FQHC, those are the federally qualified healthcare centers. We have a couple excellent ones around here, like Saban and the LGBT Center. We make sure that we pay those clinics to keep their exam rooms open for these residually uninsured. We also did quite a bit as a provider. And what I mean by that is, right, we have the county, the governance structure, but we also run our own system of hospitals and clinics. That's our Department of Health Services. We also made sure that our department was more than ready to take on all these newly eligible clients. Many of them had actually already been coming to our facilities. They just didn't have insurance. Now that they have insurance, we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything we could to provide better care to them. So one of the things we did, we created patient-centered medical homes. That means for these people, many of whom were just showing up previously to the ER, now they had a doctor, a team. They had a home clinic. They didn't have to wonder where they could go for care. We call them to make sure that they're getting routine care. So if you're a diabetic, we're calling you every couple of months to make sure that you're coming in to get your blood sugar screened, that you're taking your meds, that you have, maybe you need some medical equipment. We're making sure that you have that too. We also, one of the huge benefits of the ACA to the county is that it brought in a lot of new revenue, right? When you take 1 million people who are uninsured and they become insured, that means there's more money coming into our healthcare system. So at the county, one of the things we did was we wanted to make sure that the new revenue that was coming in, we put it back into the system. We spent several $100 million on a new electronic health record system. We're building new facilities, new clinics, new outpatient centers all over the county, all over town. So we've taken that revenue and reinvested it back in our system to further enhance services to this population. But I also want to make sure that we realize that there are two other big changes that are happening that I think are very important and cannot be underestimated. One of them is that the ACA also provided a pot of funding specific to public health. In fact, since the ACA's passage, we had over $40 million come into the county to help us address public health issues. That meant $40 million to address chronic disease prevention, physical activity promotion, making sure that people had more chances to get out, to exercise, to keep their bodies active and healthy, to improve nutrition. We went to daycare centers all over the county and worked with them to make sure that they were offering your kids healthier snacks, right? Not just whatever it might be, crackers and chips, but actually things that add nutritional value. We did a lot of education to address chronic disease and the leading causes of chronic disease. But in addition to the ACA, there was another major change in California that we've taken full advantage of. And it's not one that we talk about often, but I think it is of vital importance. It's called the Drug Medi-Cal waiver. So Drug Medi-Cal is part of the whole Medi-Cal program, the Medicaid program, but it's specifically designed to address the substance abuse treatment needs of our Medi-Cal population. It pays for rehab. It pays for outpatient counseling. It pays for some residential treatment, rehab, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. But the Drug Medi-Cal waiver, which was a special waiver, a special deal we made with the state and the feds, it has changed how we can provide substance abuse treatment services to our local population. Right now, we have 4 million people in LA County who are on Medi-Cal. 4 million people. That's 4 out of every 10 county residents. It's almost a third, it's around a third of the entire state's Medi-Cal population. It is larger than 45 states' Medicaid populations. California, Ohio, New York, and then maybe another one that I'm forgetting, and LA County. Those 4 million people are now eligible for an entirely new and expanded set of substance abuse treatment services. It means that for single male adults, and many of these guys are the same guys who are have struggled to find care for their adult life, right? If they didn't have health insurance through their jobs and they were poor, they didn't have Medicaid prior to the ACA. They didn't have many options. Now, not only do they have Medicaid, but they have access to substance abuse treatment. This is making a remarkable change for our county's highest risk population. And what the county is now working on is trying to weave all of these programs together, especially for our most vulnerable populations. Let me give you one example. We have people, sometimes they're on the street, sometimes they're in our jails. Many of them are poor, often single male adults. They don't have kids. They have problems in their lives. They have challenges. They might have mental health issues. They might have had a very rough period in their lives. They turn to drugs. For a variety of reasons, it often happens. That substance abuse might land them in jail. Prior to the ACA and the drug Medi-Cal waiver, they didn't have many options when they got out. Now, what the county is doing is making sure that our people who are either coming out of jail or about to come out of jail, that we work with them before they get released. We're making sure that they're enrolled in Medi-Cal, which they're going to be eligible for as soon as they walk out the door. We're giving warm handoffs to providers on the outside, to FQHCs, community clinics, to social service agencies, so that when they are released from jail, they already have a clinic that they can go to get vital services. And if they need substance abuse services, they're now eligible for an extensive array of substance abuse services. In fact, they can go, when we're releasing them from jail, we realize that they need serious residential treatment, we can get them in treatment for up to 6 months of residential substance abuse treatment. These options didn't exist years ago. So while the county has taken great leaps and bounds to get our residents insured, we're now in a new phase. And we're kind of doing two things at once here. Like I said, we're weaving our services together. We're trying to ensure that our clients get full access and take advantage of all the new services that they have available to them under the ACA and the drug Medi-Cal waiver. And we're also making sure that we're doing whatever we can to keep these gains for our residents. That means, frankly, picking fights with our legislators in Washington, D.C. It means that we've been holding press conferences, sending letters, going out to D.C. to visit. Now, as I'm sure you well know, most of our local legislators are very supportive of the ACA, right? We're blessed to have 2 great senators who have done all they can to roadblock these Republican efforts to repeal the ACA. And many of our local congressional representatives are strong supporters of the ACA as well. But the fight's not over, and it's not stopping anytime soon. While we may have beaten back a couple of attempts at full repeal, there are other things that are being discussed in Washington, D.C. that can still greatly harm our community and our county. One of them is this idea that Medicaid will turn into a block grant. We can't survive that, not in the long term. That effectively means a cap on federal dollars coming in to counties like ours to provide this care. So while we've done quite a bit and we're very proud of what we've achieved, there is much more for us to do, both to continue to integrate all the care and ensure that those who are eligible for these services actually receive them, and to make sure that we don't lose the ACA and the great benefits that it's already afforded our residents. So thank you for having me. I hope that was able to shed a little light on the situation. I know my colleague, Aaron Fox, is going to come up, tell a little bit more about what else is happening, what we're doing at the local level. But if you have any questions, I'm here to try to answer them.
Thank you.
Board have any questions? Board Member Watts?
Thank you. I hope you'll be leaving your cards
Yeah, of
here
course.
for both for us and for members of the public. And I'm very interested in the services that you're offering for persons that are in recovery or that need to be in recovery or that are struggling with their issues. It's no secret that that's is a major problem, not just here in Southern California writ large, but here in West Hollywood. Just over here on Robertson Boulevard, the log cabin and the about to be finally finished renovated Worley building host meetings for several thousand individual visits from persons who are in recovery for substance abuse, whether it is alcohol, meth, or other substances. And this board was a big part of getting the Worley board, or the Worley building saved when it had been on the chopping block for the park remodel. So I hope you'll leave some of those materials here, and I would like to speak with you about this after the meeting concludes as well. Thank you.
I'll stick around. I'm happy to answer any other questions you might have.
Board Member DeRay?
Yes, I thank you for being here this evening. Like Rick, I hope you leave your card, but I hope you'll keep in touch with us and come more often. I'm thrilled to hear you're offering mental health services and being aware that that's a big need. It's a huge need. But I'm also concerned how these changes in Washington might not only affect Medicare, Medi-Cal, whatever, about Medicare for the seniors and those in that community that are so impacted and so much need this, and people with pre-existing conditions, as was mentioned in our speech earlier. So I hope you'll be coming back to visit and any information that your office might have that you'll feel welcome to come share.
I would be happy to. It would be my pleasure. I should just say that, most of the media coverage that we've seen over the summer and this early fall has focused on Republican efforts that are largely targeting the subsidies, the exchanges, pre-existing conditions. But frankly, from the county perspective, we are watching much more closely what they do to Medicaid. Right, so Medicaid, Medi-Cal in California, it covers 4 million of our residents. Only about 325,000 of our county residents are actually buying plans through Covered California, through the exchange. And in no way am I discounting the importance of those subsidies, but I just want to point out that most of the coverage, if you're just reading the news, you're hearing about a fraction of the people who will be impacted by some of the legislation that's being proposed in DC by the Republicans. So for us, we're always, we get the bill language or whatever proposal, we're looking first to see what happens to Medicaid.
Any other questions from the board? Board Member Hang? Would you like to go first?
I just want to say thank you to Supervisor Kuhl for her support in this battle, with the ACA and to continuing to fight all this craziness that's going on in DC. Thank you.
It's her pleasure. Somebody said it earlier tonight about healthcare being a right, not a privilege. That's been a fundamental principle for Supervisor Kuhl and, in fact, for her colleagues as well, for the entire board. And that's why the county puts so much resources and investment, not just into Medi-Cal, but to making sure that the residually uninsured, the people who are not covered under the ACA or Cover California, also have access. We're right there with you. Thank you.
Board Member Renfrew?
Yes, I wanted to thank you for coming today and giving us a terrific synopsis of what's going on in LA County. As someone who has a public health background, I did a career change midlife, and I found it very interesting and informative. So thank you very much for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Any other questions? Board Member Watts? Board Member Nash?
Yep, thank you, Madam Chairman. I have a question. Do you have anything to do with in-home supportive services?
Oh, that's a very good question, and it's a fairly complicated answer. So yes, but not entirely. So in-home supportive services is a benefit, and the county has a role in a couple of ways. We are part of the, our Department of Public and Social Services does some of the work to determine how many hours of service somebody might be eligible for, and the county also has a role in hiring and paying for the in-home supportive services, the actual providers. But a lot of the conversations about how many hours will be, a person can receive, how much money is put into the program, those conversations are actually handled in Sacramento. So we are more of an administrator and not so much the policy determiners. If that makes sense. We're an agency of the state, so to speak, in that issue.
What I'd like to see if your office is involved in a manner that would be effective in this issue is a raise in pay for the service providers. I think we'd get a much higher quality level of help coming into our homes if they were better paid.
And I think many people in the county, including my boss, would agree. And in fact, the county, the control over the salaries has bounced back and forth in the past couple of years between Sacramento and the counties. And a couple of years ago, I think it was about 2 years ago, the County Board of Supervisors actually voted for a pay increase because we also realized that many of these IHSS workers provide vital services. And frankly, without them, our entire, not only would our residents have a tougher time of managing their daily affairs, but frankly, our county's productivity and economy would be depressed too. So we agree. I appreciate it, and I'll let the supervisor know.
Thank you, Elon, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Now going to move to public comment. Michael Wokalevich.
Michael Wojtkiewicz, County of Hypocrisy. For the record, I am neither undocumented nor am I someone who abuses either substances, alcohol, smoking products, or people. I am born and raised in the United States of America. My high school years, I spent the majority of my nights and my weekends working to help support a household that was broken, fragmented, and guided behind one very troubled single mother. And as such, because I've worked, I have an extreme out-of-pocket with respect to Medi-Cal, even though I'm considered a very low income and I am disabled. In March of this year, I received a letter from DPSS stating that my Medi-Cal could be rescinded. The claim was my re-examination packet was not complete. No explanation given. Another letter came in saying you have the right to request a hearing by such X amount of date. And although I asked for a hearing 1 week before, I got a call, and in that call, the person from the County of Los Angeles said, "Oh, if you resolve this now, we'll reinstate your Medi-Cal." They had dropped me illegally. On June 15th of this year, I went to a hearing. I was not advised of my rights. I was not advised that I would be before an actual judge. I was not advised that I had the right to a reasonable accommodation. That said, the judge was dismayed by how the county had treated me. The amount of paperwork that has been created will
Thank you, Michael. Your time is up.
It's not 3 minutes.
It's 2 minutes. We're doing 2 minutes tonight.
Public comment is 3
I
minutes,
announced it
Chair.
at the beginning of the session that it is 2 minutes due to our full
Why
agenda.
do you refuse to honor
Sorry, Michael, your time is up.
freedom to speak?
Michael, unfortunately,
You just had 2 minutes to speak. Moving on to item 3D. Please welcome Aaron Fox, Director of Government Relations from the Los Angeles LGBT Center, who will give us a presentation on their efforts to improve healthcare access.
I'd like to thank the advisory board for inviting me and staff as well for thinking about the center in this really important issue. And I've never had the opportunity to speak before an official advisory committee for the city of West Hollywood that I wasn't on a very specific subject. So I'm going to take like 30-second personal privilege and just say that I was born and raised in Orange County, which is not a world away, but it sometimes can seem that way. Aside for a couple years I spent in Arkansas, which we won't get into. And when I was 18, I thought that there was like maybe 2 or 3 other gay people in the world, and that was about it. And when I was 18, I came to West Hollywood for the first time. And I parked across the street when there was still really cheap open parking, which is now mostly Pacific Design Center, and saw all of these people that were like me. And it really changed my life. So on behalf of 18-year-old me, thank you. And now I'll move on to what I was asked to come here and speak to you tonight about the Affordable Care Act and about specifically about advocacy and what the center has been doing in both in coalition with our partners here in California, in DC, and in other states. And I'd like also to thank Alon. A lot of times our local folks don't get the credit that they deserve because policy might be made at the federal level, but I think most people sitting in this room understand that it's ultimately implemented at the local level. And while he said that people went to bed one night not having full Medi-Cal coverage and woke up the next morning having it, that took a whole lot of work. And a lot of people at the county worked very hard in doing it. So I didn't anticipate that I would be standing here tonight and going to be talking about the fact that we still have the Affordable Care Act. After the election in November, and as we moved into the inauguration in January, while I didn't tell people this openly, I assumed that within probably 6 weeks to 8 weeks, the Affordable Care Act was going to be gone. And just like those people woke up having Medi-Cal one morning, they were going to wake up one morning and no longer have it. And that really, really scared me. And I think that it scared a lot of our clients. We have about 30 to 40,000 people who walk through our doors every month for a variety of different services. And a lot of their concern is, how am I going to stay healthy enough to go to work every day? How am I going to stay healthy enough to keep up my daily activities and make sure that I can keep going? And we always believe that our advocacy is rooted in the lived experiences of our clients and our community. And so when the center sort of brushed ourselves off after the election and started to strategize about what we were going to do, we knew that this was the fight that was brought to our doorstep, but was the one that we had to fight to put the most resources into. People's jobs changed at the center. Staff responsibilities changed. We engaged our clients in different ways. We asked them to take more of an active role in advocating for policy, and really sort of shifted what is sort of an oil tanker. We have about between 500 and 600 employees. Shifting an oil tanker in a really, really small amount of time because we thought that there was a small window where we could save the ACA. And we were not the only ones. There are many unions, consumer groups, disability rights organizations who thought, even if we can't save it, we're not going to go down without a fight. And we're going to be as loud as we can, and we're going to organize in really smart ways, and we're going to show them that we might have gotten beaten, a couple months ago, but we're not going to get beaten again. And so the center launched what we called at that time the month of mobilization, which was in March. And what we first started doing was talking with our allied partners. So unions, consumer groups, disability rights groups, and trying to come up with a strategy that we could use here in California, but that we could also do nationally. One of the sort of really great things about living in LA is that we have tremendous elected officials who are not going to vote to repeal the Affordable Care Act. But there are people in other states who don't maybe have the infrastructure that we have to organize and to mobilize, whose elected officials were wavering. And so we agreed that the center would participate in calling into those other states. So we marshaled resources, we marshaled volunteers, we marshaled staff time into working with SEIU primarily to both train and mobilize in a very short amount of time people that could talk to people about the Affordable Care Act on the phone and why it was bad for repealing it, and talk to them about it as it related to Arizona, or as it related to Nevada, or as it related to Maine or Alaska, because that's where we knew there was going to be room for movement. If we were going to stop the repeal movement, it was going to be with those certain senators. It was not going to be with Kamala Harris and Dianne Feinstein, although they continue to need our support to be champions, right? And so we undertook that effort, which we made tens of thousands of phone calls. We talked to thousands of people in other states. We heard their stories. They heard our stories. A lot of those people were not LGBT. A lot of them were. And it was really, really tremendous, I think, both for the volunteers and the people receiving phone calls, that someone who wasn't even living in their state really cared about them and their health care. And then we would connect them to their senator immediately on the phone, right? So we would call into Alaska and we would immediately connect them to Lisa Murkowski because we knew she was going to be a swing vote. And we felt like this was working really, really well, but we were also on the ground in Washington, D.C. I did a lot of that work for the last 10 months, sort of stomping the Senate and House office buildings, which coming here today, it feels very restorative for me, because if you've been to D.C. since the inauguration, you will know that the energy is not good. It is very toxic. But one of the great things that I think our advocacy really focused on was that we're working collaboratively with people who aren't just in the LGBT community. We're working with people who are affected by this issue that aren't maybe our normal partners and collaborators on advocacy and on policy. And it wasn't, I don't think it was until the Senate stalled on moving the Affordable Care Act forward before John McCain sort of joined Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins with his thumbs down vote. I was in Washington, D.C., and I was at a dinner party, and a very seemingly nice white gay man sitting across from me said, "Who do you work for?" And I told him, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, well, we're really working to make sure that the Affordable Care Act is not repealed, primarily because a lot of our clients are on Medicaid." And he was like, "Why are you working on that? That's not an LGBT issue." And there's still a lot of people within our own community that don't see these larger issues that affect people beyond our community and in different ways as something we need to fight for. Well, our partners obviously didn't think that. And I will say that when we were doing lobbying on Capitol Hill, it really gave me hope that I hadn't had since November, that people could come together and actually make a difference again, especially people who had felt demoralized and who had felt beaten down. And the strongest voices that were doing that and continue to do that are disability rights activists. I think you saw disability rights activists be the face of what would happen to people, real people, if they repealed the Affordable Care Act. And you saw that in the sham hearing that they tried to push through right before the bill deadline. You saw that people in district offices in their hometowns, and you saw that with people in offices in DC, people who flew there to sit there in their representatives' offices and not leave because this was going to impact their lives. And the center knew that this was something that we had to do, that we had a responsibility to our community to be a part of this advocacy work and be a part of this fight. And as Alon said, it isn't over, although we do need to give ourselves some credit because we did win. They didn't repeal the Affordable Care Act, no matter what you say, no matter what anyone hears on the, on the news or in the media. And I've been talking about the Affordable Care Act for about 8 years now, and I always started off everything before the inauguration with whatever you heard, the Affordable Care Act has not been repealed. Because, right, we know 50, 60 times there were votes that repealed it, but Obama never signed those bills. Well, luckily, I can still say the Affordable Care Act has not been repealed. That doesn't mean it won't be. That doesn't mean they will not continue to try. That doesn't mean we don't have a president who is bent on sabotaging this law and essentially pulling healthcare and insurance away from tens of millions of people and sending states and localities' budgets into devastation, which is what would happen if the Affordable Care Act was repealed. And as Alon said, replace isn't really what it was, right? Almost in every bill they were talking about block grants for Medicaid, which changes the program entirely from an entitlement, which means if you need it, it's there, to well, if we have the money, you can have it, but if we don't, you can't. And that would not just be changing the nature of that program that has helped and now continues to help way more people than it did before the Affordable Care Act was passed. That wouldn't be just taking us back to pre-Obama. That would be taking us back to pre-LBJ, when Medicaid was created. And so for the center, for me personally, and I know for many of the people in this room, that this struggle remains something that's extremely close to home, as I think it should. The center will continue to work with our partners, with our clients, with our volunteers, and with our representatives, those who agree with us and those who don't, to make sure that they make the best policy decisions that they can make for our community. And if they don't, we'll hold them accountable. That being said, the center does not endorse any candidate or party because we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I'll just close tonight by thanking all of the people who are either in this room or who are not, who made phone calls, who wrote emails, who wrote letters, who showed up in their elected officials' offices, who told their story to someone in their life to explain why the Affordable Care Act, why Medicaid, why everything, why all of this is important. Because those stories at the end of the day made the difference. They really, really made the difference. Because there was enough people with enough stories that got through that at least those 3 senators couldn't go and vote for that bill. And sometimes that's what it comes down to. So I thank you for having me. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Board Member DeRay.
I'd like to say thank you. A very refreshing talk, one that buoyed our spirits, or at least mine. And I certainly hope we can partner with you in the future, that you will come join us again at our board and keep us posted, but also, as Rick said earlier, that if you have any cards, your business cards with you, please make sure you have enough for all of us.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Board Member Friedman.
You said something about the atmosphere was toxic in Washington, and that really hurt me and made me feel very angry. Could you expand on that a little bit? What do you mean the atmosphere was toxic? Among whom?
I think the atmosphere among a number of groups. I think among advocates who share the values that we share. For 8 years, we knew that no matter what Congress did, we had a person in the White House who was going to veto any attempt to repeal the Affordable Care Act. That all changed on Inauguration Day. And so that certainty was gone. And I think anxiety and fear were and are and continue to be palpable. And you have elected officials who I think a lot of people who voted for the repeal probably really didn't want to. And to me, that's toxic. I think people should be elected to go and do what they think is right, rather than what they think is sort of politically expedient. And I think there was a general feeling that's not happening right now.
So it was like more demoralized than anything else. Are you also making sure that people know that the enrollment period has been shortened for the ACA this year?
Well, so there is a distinction between federal and California. Because California operates its own exchange called Cover California, we're able to not deal with a lot of those federal rules that other states have to deal with because the feds are in charge of their exchanges. So California is going to have a traditional open enrollment, but other states will not.
Right, and many people in California have families in other states
Right.
because many of us come from other states, and I think we need to tell them and make them aware.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Board Member Watts?
I'd really like to thank you and the center for everything that you do for underserved populations. It is no secret that the LGBT population, being disproportionately single, disproportionately poor, disproportionately discriminated against, particularly historically, and even now we have segments of the LGBT population that still suffer horrible discrimination on the basis of race, on the basis of gender identity. They continue to be victimized even in this relatively enlightened city of ours. Discrimination did not end with the passage of the Civil Rights Act. Discrimination did not end with the winning of the marriage cases in the Supreme Court. Discrimination did not end with President Obama's creation of the Dreamers program. Those things are all continue to be under threat. whether it is with respect to programs serving those communities in particular, or persons with disabilities that are in need of financial resources. As Mr. Wojtkiewicz noted earlier, he has some pretty high copays. I have experienced that myself, and I too have had problems with Medi-Cal years ago. For all the good that it does, it is imperfect. It is a work in progress, and we need to fight to protect these things, just as the county and its services for persons that are dealing with substance abuse. And before I forget, you guys do such good and important work helping people kick their habits. And we need to stand together and protect those programs and protect those people who are struggling with their addiction from the predators that attempt to capitalize on their vulnerabilities. There's no secret that in West Hollywood, and in California, in the United States, with the meth epidemic, the opioid epidemic, that these curses upon humanity continue to take lives. They continue to destroy lives, destroy families, destroy communities, destroy friendships. And organizations such as the LGBT Center, organizations such as the County of Los Angeles and the programs that they help, governmental services, whether it is law enforcement, healthcare support, can frequently be the difference between life and death for individuals, for communities, between order and between chaos, between the ability for us to enjoy the freedoms that our Constitution provides for, that we are all given by right of birth as human beings, but which can be interfered with by people seeking to capitalize, to steal from others, to aggrandize themselves. We will, at our own peril, if we allow ourselves to become divided by our own differences, rather than standing together with the things that we have in common to fight against the enemies that we have in common, to protect what is good and just and right and humane that makes us a good society. And you are a part of that. Your organization is a part of it. You do good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Watts. And thank you, Aaron, for your presentation.
Thank you.
And at this time, it looks like we're going to go over. So I'd like to ask the board if there's a consensus to extend the meeting 15 minutes. All in favor, say aye.
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 The meeting is extended 15 minutes. Moving on to unfinished business. We do not have any unfinished business, nor do we have any excluded consent, so we're going to move on to items from the staff.
Good evening. Joan Mithers. I'd like to say congratulations to the award recipients, congratulations to the advisory board for a great year of work, and many thanks to our presenters on health care. I just want to call your attention to some legislation under consideration. H.R. 620 is the ADA Education and Reform Act of 2017. If passed, it would amend the Americans with Disabilities Act by limiting the ability of disabled persons to seek legal remedies for noncompliance with the ADA by certain businesses. At its November 6th meeting, the City Council will consider adopting a resolution in opposition to H.R. 620 to prevent shifting the requirements for compliance with ADA from business and property owners to the persons living with disabilities.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for such a wonderful meeting. And also thank you to the subcommittee for all your hard work and your planning. Your efforts really made this such a fantastic event. The health and wellness event was also a big success this year. Thank you to the volunteers who came to help out. There were over 150 participants at the event. There were 74 flu shots, 29 counseling sessions, 106 diabetes screenings, 116 blood pressure screenings, and 46 podiatry screenings this year. And these are the official numbers from CEDARS, and AHF reported that 8 people were tested for HIV and STDs. Second thing I wanted to talk about was your next meeting is your study session on December 6th from 5 to 8 p.m. in Plummer Park. The topic of this meeting is accessible design features and affordable housing. The DAP has been assigned this important task of providing input on accessible design. The results of your study session, as well as other community sessions, may be included in future city policies. So since this assignment is so important, we have contracted with a facilitator to conduct the December study session. At your September meeting, there was a training on this topic, and we'll be resending materials for your review. There will be some homework before the study session, so look forward to that. And also, the facilitator will be scheduling pre-meeting interviews with board members in November. So you'll be getting some more information about that. So I really look forward to this opportunity in December. It's going to be a big success, and thank you.
Thank you, Derek and Joan. We're going to move on to public comment, and as we stated earlier, public comment will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker. Victor, I'm going to try this, Olenchenko, that's not right. I think I'm missing a letter.
Chair Friedrich, you got it right. Victor Omolchenko. Good evening. I'm Victor Omolchenko, longtime resident of West Hollywood, and I wanted to thank you because I was the beneficiary of the fine health and wellness fair that was conducted for the community in Plummer Park. I was one of the 74 people to have gotten a flu shot. I like staying for meetings when I can because I learn from what I hear. And as a former public facilities commissioner here in the city, I just wanted to share with you also the concern that was raised earlier about the ADA accessibility and compliance of our Hart Park, which is up on DeLongpre, just south of Sunset Boulevard. It has a dog park there also, and there have been issues. I used to bring them up when I was on the Public Facilities Commission. You're hearing it brought up still, and this facility, the city does need to go forward and look to make sure that it is truly ADA compliant. To hear that the Robo Garage is not accessible to one of you members is kind of shocking to me, the one behind the City Hall. So whatever can be done to fix that, that would be good. And if it can't, because I've heard some vehicles can't get in there, then what would be good is to make sure that any spots that are available on the ground be clearly demarcated for use by the disabled community. And in the future, there's going to be a new affordable housing project called the Blue Hibiscus, which is going to be on North Detroit Avenue on the east side of the city. There are going to be 22 new units of affordable housing. So hearing about your December study session that you're going to be having about accessibility design, I think it would be great. With the challenges that you face in your personal lives, perhaps as that project comes to fruition, as it is built, that you as our Disability Advisory Board members can go to that project and do an actual walkthrough through it and see, does it meet the kind of disability challenges that you face? I'd like to congratulate the winners of the award, the 4 winners, and I also wanted you to know that I spent some time this
Victor.
afternoon
I'm sorry, your time
with
is
Jean
up.
Dobrin, who was a Disability Award winner, and she sends her best wishes to you. She was instrumental in making sure that city council chambers and community meetings have the listening devices. So thank you for your service. She sends you your best her best wishes.
We're going to move on to items from the board. Because this is a televised event and we have limited time frame. I ask that each board member keep their comments to around 1 or 2 minutes. And I'd like to start with Board Member Renfrew.
Thank you. I don't really have any comments, but I wanted to thank both participants that made a presentation today. I found it extremely informative, and both of them were excellent. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Board Member Renfrew. Board Member Watts.
I want to congratulate all of our winners for tonight. All of us are put on this earth not to just to have a good time and end up with the most toys before we die. We're put on this earth to leave it a better place than it was when we came into it. And we rise, we lift ourselves when we help other people. I want to acknowledge publicly a person by the name of Maria Ochoa, who is a labor organizer and advocate for LGBT equality. Maria is dealing with cancer right now. She starts her chemotherapy on November 3rd. Now, those of you who know me know that I normally have a full head of hair. Maria is going to be, as she goes through her chemotherapy, she's going to be losing it. So I decided to do this in solidarity. As you also may know, my income's kind of limited. But I wanted to do something for her, so the money that I'm not going to be spending on haircuts for the next few months is going to Maria. So those of you that have friends that are also dealing with cancer, do something in solidarity with them. Do something in solidarity with any of your friends that are going through tough times, whether it's for cancer or some other illness, or just need an ear to listen to and a shoulder to lean on. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Watts. Board Member DeRay.
Thank you very much, Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank our staff for the great job they do today, yesterday, and will do for us tomorrow. I'd like to give special love and thanks to the head of the department, Elizabeth Savage, and tell you we're very sad you're leaving, but we will live in the house you built, and we will take advantage of all that as we age in place. And third of all, I want to quickly say that I'm very proud of all our honorees and pleased with the speakers that came tonight and to all of you that came to join us. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Board Member DeRay. Board Member Samaco.
Hello. My name again is Annie Simonko, and I am particularly pleased that that you all came to our advisory board meeting and awards presentation, and I'd like to congratulate the recipients of our awards, and I'd like to say on the issue that I'd like to talk about, with my COBRA, when my COBRA expired in November 2013, I began searching for health insurance. I contacted the two companies that covered me as an employee. Because of a pre-existing condition, I had no health insurance for 2 months. FYI, it wasn't my cerebral palsy they questioned as a pre-existing condition, but my high cholesterol. I am grateful to be covered under the 2014 pre-existing condition law. Whatever future revisions are made to the Affordable Care Act, this law covering pre-existing conditions should be kept and protected. We that have pre-existing conditions should not have to pay higher premiums or live without insurance. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Samaco. Board Member Smith.
Well, I'd like to thank all of the awardees tonight, our speakers, and our city council who have given many, many hours, and in particular our city staff that supports us. and our Director of Social Services and the manager that has been helping us. You've given a lot of your time to us, and really appreciate it. Additionally, I want to thank my fellow board members and our new members that, add a lot of new ideas to our group. It's been a real honor to serve on this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Smith. Board Member Heng?
I'd like to thank the awardees all tonight. I'm sure I will echo the same. I'm sure that Supervisor's Office as well as City Council all appreciate all the hard work that you all do. I'd like to also thank Elon from Supervisor Kuhl's office and Aaron from the center. Thank you very much for continuing to fight the fight for us here on a local level and making it a national concern as well. And I'd also like to, just echo what Aaron said about toxicity. Every time I watch MSNBC, I feel the toxic environment too. So I echo your concern with that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Board Member Heng. Board Member Nash?
Thank you. Board Member David Nash. First, I'd like to thank Lauren Meister for appointing me to the board. It's already been a pleasure and an eye-opening experience. I heard you tonight mention, pardon me, that public comment and sometimes positions that board members may take won't always be as nice as they are tonight. So don't be surprised if at some point I seem angry and frustrated. There are issues that I'll address at a more appropriate time. But tonight I want to personalize my thanks to Dial-A-Ride and the Braille Institute, in particular at the Braille, both organizations I access on a weekly basis. And at the Braille Institute, I have a wonderful music teacher, Faye Roberts, and I participate in the pop band and have a great time. I was reluctant to go to the Braille Institute because it just didn't sound like a fun place to be. But it's a wonderful place to get services and support. And the people at Dial-A-Ride, oh my God, several times a week sometimes they're taking me to medical appointments, dental, doctor appointments, and they're always so pleasant. It makes me feel that I'm lucky to live in West Hollywood, that we have an organization like Dial-A-Ride that continues to expand their services and grow and take such really loving care of our residents. I'd also like to thank Elizabeth Savage. I have aged in place, and with more support than I ever thought I would have. And I'm happy to be here in West Hollywood and lucky to be receiving the amount of support that I get. Just thank you so much for allowing me to participate, and thank you to the award winners that I access weekly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Board Member Nash. Board Member Friedman?
Of course, I also want to congratulate and thank all the recipients and my fellow board members, who I am finding out are the kindest people I've ever met. They have such big, wonderful hearts, and I'm grateful that I'm on the board now. I also want to say thank you to our staff. I wrote Derek earlier that he is the rock on which we all stand, and I really feel that way about everybody on our staff. You're just amazing. You work so hard, and I hope you understand how much we appreciate you. I became disabled 23 years ago, and after being a kind of a bratty young woman, and I found that 3 words helped me through: determination, a good attitude, and a sense of humor. And I think the sense of humor actually turned out to be the most important one. So as you go out in there and you have to deal with whatever, problems or challenges you face, remember, determination, attitude, and sense of humor will pretty much carry you through. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you, Board Member Friedman. And I'd like to thank Hillary Sullivan, Elan Schultz, and Aaron Fox for their presentation. And congratulations to everyone who was awarded a service award, and to everyone who is also nominated, as they all deserve recognition. And Director Elizabeth Savage, you're still here. Usually when people retire, they slowly phase out and quietly ride off into the sunset, but not Elizabeth. She helped create a program that will forever take care of our residents, and it shows how much she deeply cares about all of us. And I wish you all the best, and you'll be surely missed. And thank you to the city staff, Kim, Yvonne, Melissa, Diane, and David, so much for your help. You guys are always there. And a special thanks to Derek, Mary, and Joan Mithers. You guys are like I don't know what I would do without you. You're always there to help every step of the way, and I'm truly grateful for everything that you do for the board and for myself. And we're so lucky to have both of you. And a special thank you to Councilmember Lindsay Horvath, who gave me the honor of serving on this board. And with that, we'll move on to adjournment. I call for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.
Miss Elizabeth Savage, are you in the house? We have something here. And we need a picture. Please don't leave.